Hi.
How you doing?
Okay, I'm a little nervous about saying this because
Why?
I've kept this secret ever since 1956.
Oh, my God. Wait, this is a 50-year-old secret you're about to unveil on this radio station?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready. We're ready. Okay, go ahead.
Well, there is a picture. Well, there are lots of pictures because Alfred Wertheimer was the photographer that was with Elvis and his crew and myself back in June of 1963.
Okay.
Or 50. I'm 56. I'm okay.
Okay.
And he took a lot of pictures, and they have become very famous in books and newspapers and all that all over the world. And I tried to contact Alfred years ago and do a story with him, but he wouldn't do it, and so I wouldn't give him my name. And all of my family keeps saying, you know, that picture has made him millions of dollars. You should really call or go over to the auditorium when they have the showing of all the pictures Sunday.
Well, what's the picture of, Barbara?
It's a picture, well, there are lots of them, but there's the whole day I spent in Richmond, Virginia with Elvis. And the main picture that's been famous everywhere is a picture of the two of us standing, touching tongues.
It's one of the most iconic pictures in rock and roll history, one of the legendary pictures in the history of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. And the lady, Barbara Gray, who is the center of that picture and the mystery revealed, is now joining us in the studio here at the Big Talker. Barbara, good morning, and how are you doing?
Good morning, Richard. I'm doing well and not nearly as nervous as I was a year ago.
Well, first of all, I got to say, I'm flattered that you were listening to the Morning Buzz. I really, really appreciate it. And when you called in that morning, it was stunning. And I think a lot of people didn't believe the veracity of your claim when you called in, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
You had to prove it, didn't you?
I did.
So, Barbara, I mean, you tried, and you mentioned in the phone call, you've tried to contact the photographer in the past to lay claim to that was me, and things just over the years did not progress to where that was verified. When you called my program in February of last year, I mean, what was it that motivated you at that time to step up and say it's me?
Well, my husband had brought home a newspaper from work on USA Today that had the whole picture and story and everything. That the picture was in the Smithsonian Institute. And I thought, oh, my God, now I'm in the Smithsonian. I thought only dead people got in there. And, of course, Al had said once that he got in touch with the mother of that girl and that she was dead, that she had been killed in a car accident. So I thought, this isn't going to happen. So that's when I decided, because I found out that the book signing was also going to be here in Charleston. So they were giving out free tickets to go, and I didn't want to miss it, but I wasn't about to pay to go see myself.
Since then, I mean, you didn't know who he was when you met him, and you obviously really got along with him.
Oh, yeah.
In the subsequent years, as he became the king of rock and roll, you see him on Ed Sullivan, he becomes an icon in American history. Did you look back on that incident any differently as you saw him become who he was in front of your eyes?
Well, I admired him and respected him. I didn't particularly care for his music. I was always into jazz, and I was a very big fan and friend of Pat Boone. So when the picture came out originally, Pat's the person who called me and said, "What are you doing with my biggest rival in the National Enquirer?"
What is your recollection, Barbara? Just you did a great job in describing the story with Matt Lauer on the Today Show on Monday, and just your recollection of meeting the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. You didn't even know who he was, did you?
No, I didn't.
Was he a nice guy?
Oh, he was a very nice guy, and he was a lot of fun.
Disarmingly charming?
Yeah, I would say he was. He really was.
How would you describe yourself during that time period? Because I'm saying this with all due respect and as a total compliment. What a babe! I mean, that picture you're gorgeous.
Thank you.
A really sexy, borderline erotic photo but it kind of developed in a way. And I guess, first of all, what was the thing that set you apart as absolutely confirming that that was you in the picture, as other women have tried to claim in the past? Was there one piece of evidence, one piece of information that maybe set you apart, that this is the person? Because reading in the story was when riding in the car over to the venue.
And absolutely. That was a big part of it, because when I spoke to Al back in the 70s on the phone long distance, I was living in Philadelphia, and I was married to a gentleman named Al, also named Al Satinoff. And he put me up to calling Al Wertheimer to tell him that I wanted one of the pictures because I wanted to write a book about my life. Not about Elvis, but about my life. And he was not going to do that. And so he kept asking me all these silly questions, and not only how tall was I, and, where was I from, and how old was I, and how tall was I. And finally he asked me, well, how many people were they in the cab when we were in the cab? And I said, there were 6 of us. And he said, oh, well, then you're not that girl, because there were only 5. And I said, just like I did on your program, hey, listen, go back and look in your pictures. You'll find the 6th person in there.
Well, and you had a better memory than the photographer did.
Yes, I did.
In the story that you told us back in last February, Barbara, it was obvious that Elvis had invited you to go with him up to New York to see the Steve Allen show, and you kind of rebuked him. You had a boyfriend at the time.
Yes, I did. And all that was talked about both on the phone from here in Charleston, and then when he sent the car for me and we drove, his cousin Gene and his road manager took me to Richmond to see him at that show, and then he invited me to go from that to New York for the Steve Allen show. But
you could have been. You were Priscilla before Priscilla.
Oh yes,
you could have been.
Oh yes, and many people have said that you could be Mrs. Presley. Well, I don't think I made a mistake, because his life turned out very badly, and years later, he was in Philadelphia, and I was living there then, and he was appearing at one of the ballparks, and he had all this bad publicity about the drugs and all. And I had a drug and alcohol recovery center that I owned and operated, and I really wanted to go and see him and see if I could talk to him, and also talk to him about the Lord, because I was a Christian, and I was trying to help him. But my pride got in there. I had gained weight. I didn't think I looked very good, and I thought, oh, he won't even know who I am, and they probably won't let me in. So I never went, and I regret that from the bottom of my heart.